Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to being well-informed. Today, we're plunging into a topic where compassion and, well, caution collide head-on.
That's right. We're talking about the complex intersection of refugee programs and national security.
It's a really delicate balance, isn't it? Sparks intense debate, and it's one we're going to navigate using the source material you've provided us with.
Yeah, our mission for this deep dive is really to unpack some truly complex questions, all surrounding refugee programs and national security.
Okay.
We'll be drawing directly from your sources, looking into claims about vetting processes, potential vulnerabilities, and the often, starkly different ways people see risk.
And the sources we're working with today are pretty insightful, I think. We've got an audio excerpt.
Yeah.
It's a discussion between a CNN anchor and a U.S. representative.
Mm-hmm.
We also have insights from a State Department whistleblower, which sounds fascinating.
Yeah.
And then references to statements from former FBI and intelligence directors, plus even a discovered speech text. So quite a mix.
Definitely a lot to get through.
Okay, let's get right into it then.
Let's do it.
So maybe we can start by unpacking this with a really striking example from our source material. It's an exchange that immediately throws into sharp relief just how differently we can perceive risk.
Okay.
It features a CNN anchor basically saying that statistically, people should be more worried about getting hit by lightning than about Islamic terror.
Right, I remember seeing that, suggesting more people are killed by lightning in the U.S. than by ISIS.
Exactly. And that's where the U.S. representative in the source material jumps in.
Ah, with the counter argument.
Right. Pushing back hard against that comparison. He points out, okay, in 2016, only 38 Americans were killed by lightning.
38, okay.
Now, the source doesn't give us specific ISIS numbers for that exact time frame to compare directly.
Right.
But the clear implication from the representative is that terror-related deaths since then have been, quote, many more.
So challenging the statistical basis, or at least the framing of it.
Yeah, and he didn't stop there. He drew what seems like a crucial distinction. Terror attacks, like he mentioned the Orlando nightclub shooting, the Boston Marathon bombing, they're purposeful.
Mm-hmm. Targeted.
Targeted. Aimed at communities. Fundamentally different, he argues, from a random act of nature like lightning.
That makes sense. The intent is different.
He even dismissed the idea that, love could somehow quell radical terrorists. So for you, listening to this, it's not just about the numbers clashing.
No, not at all.
It really reveals this fundamental conflict, right, between a sort of probabilistic, data-driven view of risk
Like the anchor's view.
and one that's more rooted in, intent, the psychological impact, maybe even political will.
Absolutely. What's fascinating here, I think, is how this exchange really exposes a deeper truth about how we perceive risk. Raw data, it's important, sure.
Okay.
But it often just fails to capture the whole picture of perceived threats, the fear, the societal disruption, the fact that it's deliberate targeting.
Right.
It isn't just about how many, it's the how and the why. And that profoundly shapes how the public reacts and how policy gets made.
Okay, so if the public debate often gets kind of tangled up in these raw numbers versus intent arguments, what about the actual, operational challenges?
Yeah, the nuts and bolts.
Right. Our sources next bring us a really crucial perspective here from someone called Mary Deutsch, an insider's voice.
Okay, tell us about her.
She's described as a 25-year veteran of the State Department, a refugee coordinator who worked extensively across the Middle East, Africa, Russia, Cuba. It's a broad experience.
Wow, yeah. 25 years. She'd have seen a lot.
You'd think so.
Yeah.
And her central claim is, it's pretty impactful. She asserts the refugee program is, quote, full of fraud.
Full of fraud. That's blunt.
Very. And she says, look, she supports temporary halts on admissions from what she calls hostile nations, but she feels that doesn't go nearly far enough. She's hinting at much deeper, more systemic problems within the whole program.
Interesting. So not just tweaking, but fundamental issues. What specifics did she give, particularly on vetting?
Yeah, exactly. Her claims around vetting are especially stark.
Yeah.
She basically states that despite all the talk about enhanced vetting.
Mm-hmm. We hear that phrase a lot.
Right. She says it's virtually impossible to genuinely vet individuals who come from nations where official records, birth certificates, criminal histories simply don't exist or aren't reliable.
Okay, that's a huge practical problem right there, if there's no data to check against.
Precisely.
Right.
And maybe even more critically, she alleges that U.S. immigration officials often have to rely on what she calls rehearsed and fabricated testimony.
Rehearsed. Fabricated. Wow.
Yeah. And she says she personally witnessed this on hundreds of occasions.
Hundreds.
That really challenges the whole idea of the system's integrity, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. I mean, her claims, if true, they reveal this core systemic vulnerability, right?
Yeah.
How does any country protect its borders when that traditional verifiable data isn't there?
Yeah.
The key insight here, maybe, is that enhanced vetting might be a political promise that just runs up against, well, insurmountable practical realities in some parts of the world. It really raises the question for you listening. What does it mean when the main source of information is just personal testimony?
Especially testimony she claims is often faked.
Exactly. What are the implications for having a really robust, trustworthy vetting process? It's a tough one.
In building on those general concerns, the source material doesn't just, leave it at the whistleblower's claims. It gives concrete examples of alleged abuse and exploitation.
Okay, like what?
Well, we hear about terror networks apparently using fake IDs, fake passports in Europe. Some fake passports were allegedly even found in Greek refugee camps.
Fake documents are always a concern in these flows.
And then there's the issue of welfare fraud. European terror suspects reportedly getting benefits under many different names while plotting attacks.
Exploiting the system.
Yeah. The source even mentions this detail about refugees supposedly using fake beards and glasses to commit welfare fraud in government offices.
Fake beards and glasses. Okay, that sounds almost like something out of a movie, but it points to deception tactics.
Right. And these specific examples also touch on things like age deception. There's a case mentioned of a rapist in Sweden.
Okay.
He apparently got a lesser sentence because he claimed to be 17, even though he initially told officials he was 18.
And they just accepted the change.
Apparently, his change story was accepted at face value, according to the source.
Wow. So, what these examples taken together seem to suggest, for you listening, is this really profound challenge authorities face, verifying who people are, what their intentions are.
Yeah.
In this globalized world where traditional documents might be missing or unreliable or easily faked.
It paints a picture of significant loopholes.
Or at least significant challenges.
And these, pretty significant claims from an insider like Mary Deutsch, they don't just stand alone in the source material.
Ah, so there's corroboration.
It points to corroborating statements from some really senior figures, top intelligence and law enforcement chiefs. For instance, back in 2015, FBI Director James Comey.
Comey, right.
He was on record stating that vetting refugees, in some contexts, was, quote, virtually impossible.
Virtually impossible. That's Comey saying that. Not exactly a fringe opinion.
Not at all. And what's fascinating here is that the Director of National Intelligence at the time, James Clapper,
Okay.
he basically echoed this concern. He stated, I don't obviously put it past the likes of ISIL to infiltrate operatives among these refugees. That's a huge concern of theirs.
A huge concern. So you have the FBI director saying it's nearly impossible, and the DNI highlighting the risk of infiltration by groups like ISIL.
Yeah.
The fact that two officials that high up recognized this virtual impossibility and huge concern, that's not just like confirming Deutsch's point.
Well,
it really indicates a recognized high-level systemic challenge, something that you could argue goes beyond any single political administration.
it suggests the problem was known at the top.
It certainly seems that way based on these statements.
And this brings us to another pretty compelling piece of evidence from our source material. It's about a discovered speech text
Oh, from who?
from Hillary Clinton back in 2013. In this speech text, she reportedly admitted that, quote, jihadists are coming in along with legitimate refugees.
She acknowledged that in 2013.
Okay,
Okay.
that's what the source claims the text shows. Now, what's particularly striking, according to the source, is that despite this reported knowledge, she later, under the Obama administration, where she served as Secretary of State,
Right.
the administration increased refugee admissions by approximately 550%.
Wow, 550% increase after acknowledging the infiltration risk. That does present a kind of policy paradox, doesn't it?
It certainly seems like a tension.
Yeah, I mean, it raises a really important question for you, the listener. How does a government try to balance humanitarian goals? Helping people in need
Right, the compassion side.
with these perceived national security risks. It's a fundamental dilemma. And the whistleblower, Mary Deutsch, she goes further on this point.
What else did she say?
She claims the Obama administration continued to expand it blindly without any thought of the repercussions.
Blindly. Strong words again.
Very strong. It reflects this really significant disagreement over how that risk was being managed, or maybe if it was being managed adequately. That tension between policy aims and operational realities.
Okay, so in direct response to these sorts of accumulating concerns
Yeah.
and the whole debate about vetting and security,
Which was getting very heated.
very heated, the source details how Donald Trump, when he was defending his temporary travel ban,
Well,
he actually released a list of 24 terrorist suspects, at least 24 individuals. The source says the majority of them had actually been convicted. And these are people who had been allowed into the U.S. from the very countries his travel ban targeted.
so connecting the individuals directly to those specific countries.
Exactly. And the clear purpose of releasing this list, as the source highlights it,
Yeah.
was to directly counter a statement made by a Seattle judge.
So the judge involved in blocking the ban.
That's the one.
Yeah.
The judge had asserted that, as far as he could tell, there had been 0 arrests of terrorists from those specific countries since 9/11.
0 arrests. Okay, so Trump's list was meant as direct evidence against that claim.
Precisely. It was a move, for you listening, aimed at providing very concrete, specific examples right into the middle of this very public, very contentious debate about the true nature and the extent of the threat.
Using specific cases to make a broader point about risk.
Exactly. So what does this all mean for you, the listener, after this deep dive? We've really navigated some complex terrain here. Refugee programs, national security. We started with those really stark philosophical differences in how risk is even defined, right? Going way beyond just the raw numbers.
Yeah, the lightning versus terrorism debate really highlighted that.
Then we sort of pull back the curtain on these alleged operational vulnerabilities. From the insider's claims of virtually impossible vetting because records are missing,
Right, the Deutsch testimony.
to those specific instances of alleged fraud and deception, fake documents, welfare scams, age deception.
The concrete examples.
And finally, we saw how these concerns weren't just from one whistleblower, but were apparently echoed by high-level officials like Comey and Clapper, and how all this shaped executive actions like the travel ban and the list release.
Yeah.
Our mission here was really just to explore these critical points, looking through the lens of the information you provided us. And we've certainly uncovered, I think, layers of tension and concern.
Absolutely. And this deep dive, drawing, directly from your sources, it really raises a final profound question for you to think about.
Okay.
In this world we live in, increasingly interconnected, complex,
Yeah.
how might societies innovate? How can we truly balance that powerful human imperative for compassion
Helping those in need.
with the undeniable need for robust security? What new frameworks or maybe new approaches could genuinely address these really multifaceted challenges, the vetting, the system integrity, in a way that respects both human dignity and national safety?
That's the core challenge, isn't it? Finding that balance,
Yeah.
something definitely to mull over.